chapter 15. Be humble or get humbled. It's best to be invited up than to be told to step down. Geez, I'm getting self-conscious about reading some of this stuff because I don't get the credit for even coming up with the questions. People are just like, you're reading from AI, you're not original. Well, so far, I think every question with AI is original, right? So most of us get highly specialized answers, and then for the most part, those answers get ignored. But as I've stated before, nobody is interested in a conversation like this. So of course I'm talking to AI. Of course I'm brainstorming and I'm cross-referencing stuff, and I need him to paraphrase to me some of this religious crap that I just need like 2 sentences of an idea to complete my idea. And so, although I think most of my writings are with intent to not be disproven incorrect by the Bible, simply because it's the constitution for a Christian, right? The Bible stuff, the way we build it, the way we structure our life. If we can have God's blessing, then there's something worthwhile to that, we believe. Yeah, I'd read, but let's see. What is one humble lesson that I guess I don't have to read? We understand that part, right? So if we are walking around with the attitude of people owe me praise, people owe me credit, people owe me something, people owe me money for talking to them, for sleeping with them, for going out to dinner with them. Just, I mean, small example, right? I plan to charge fee for my time spending with people, so I hope to be compensated for me suggesting we go grab dinner together. You got to pay for that and then pay me for my time. No, that's kind of snobby, but yeah, if I'm trying to be a consultant, right? Like hypothetically, I'm not out here, I'm not on these social media platforms looking for love. I've already tried the dating services, not services, but a few dating websites or apps, and it yielded to one failed marriage and just a lot of blows to the ego. Apparently, where I'm at, these girls don't like short white guys, and it's the best I got. So I'm focusing on myself. That's actually, I'm selfishly, that's pretty fun to do, right? So sometimes females come and go. They're like shiny objects, and then sometimes they're nowhere to be seen, and that's okay, because as long as a man, as long as you're comfortable with your own company and your own mind, and um, this and that, I think we can set up a better dynamic going forward, right? Because for the last couple of years, we've seen, with the rise of the social media, we've seen some social decay, right? Especially where it's like this almost open prostitution is a thing. And granted, we have a lot of people from other countries coming here, and they have their own ways. And there's a lot of gray areas in prostitution, and all of that is legal over there. And then they come over here, and then they introduce their mentality to our ways, right? So granted, United States, prostitution, like that's one of the things that I'm sure we're very comfortable with. um, and why am I talking about prostitution? Oh yeah, the trade, right? So it's like some of us, yeah, with this rise of social media, we think that everybody wants us, but then everybody wants us with their own intention. And then we think we're all valuable and this and that, right? And so, inadvertently, if we were to zoom out a little bit and be like, okay, I'm selling sex in any form is like a little bit morally bankrupt, right? Which is why we don't build good practices on that. And so the fact that social media is kind of getting exposed for that, and we're working with some better boundaries, or working with some introducing some better boundaries on social media, that's pretty cool. And see, that's exactly why motherfuckers don't like me, is because I talk about topics like this and I believe things like this. And then I go around and I actually follow some OnlyFans models because they're hot. Like, they're comfortable doing their job, and who am I to judge? Like, I don't know, pleasant looking people and things are just pleasant to look at, right? So, but as far as the overall general psychological well-being, mental well-being, would like to think that such blatant disregard for personal boundaries might not be such a good thing for our mental health. So, and we see that with the decay of relationships, the concept of marriage kind of, it was dying down, right? It wasn't cool to be married for a while. And now it's kind of rising back up because we understand that of all the ideas we've spent thousands of years trying to really figure out what the best partnership is between man and woman, right? So it's been a lot of generations of opinions pitching in, and they're like, oh, okay, marriage sounds fair. And then if the husband respects the wife, then that's pretty cool. And then if the wife feels safe and is supportive and does her half the job, then that's pretty cool. And then there's a few blessings if you do it properly, and then there's definitely some heartache and lessons to learn if you choose the wrong partner, and this and that. So I have no clue how any of this is according to humility. It all started with, yeah, we have to carry ourselves with a little bit more humility. And here I go, just talking shit to all of you that watched. I'd ask you if like this is even interesting, the stuff that I'm up to, talking on camera and not even knowing what to do with myself. Perhaps I need to stand up. You know, like I said, I was gonna ask you if you care, if you find it interesting. Then guess where you think I'm going with this. I don't give a shit. So the moment calls for what the moment calls for. And what I can do is what I can do. The rest is something perhaps I don't want to do, right? So if you were really to be a man, for example, a man who thinks for himself, you would understand that sometimes we just do what we want to do. Not what we gotta do, but a motherfucker does what he wants to do sometimes, you know? And there's a certain snobbiness to it, yes, but I'm, oh shit, I'm in the humble chapter talking like that, right? I think when it matters, I'm pretty humble. Or at least I tell myself, I rehearse with myself, be humble, be humble, be humble. Because earlier on, I was like, you know, I think I'm a little bit smarter than the average bear. So let's be humble. And then I was like, you know, I think I'm a little bit better looking than the average bear. And then later on, I was like, I think I'm a little bit more talented than the average bear in certain things, right? And so this whole time, my whole self talk is be humble, be humble, be humble, right? So I know when I got adopted into America, for example, they were a relatively better off family, right? So they had four kids of their own, and then me and four of my siblings got adopted into here from Russia. And then we were growing up on what, 3 4 story building on a private lake in Issaquah somewhere, by Issaquah area. And so I don't know what struggle is, but at 17 I was like, I'm out of here. I don't like you guys' rules. You are way too far away from all the chicks that are closer to the downtown. Let me go there. So yeah, at 17 I moved out, and then my struggle started, right? I was like, damn, this hunger stuff is really real. Dang, this night is very cold. You know, how did I plan for that? And I don't know. I think 18, 19 were kind of fun because I was trying to be a musician. Um, I carried a guitar with me. Um, had a BMX bike, rode throughout Seattle, pretty much memorized all the back alleys, and then they built up all these new buildings. So I lost I lost memory of all of that apparently. But um, yeah, this whole time I'm like, be humble, because I see a lot of people have less and they're grateful. And I mean, I have a fair amount of less in quite a few departments, right? But overall, we can always think of something that we're grateful for and that we have a little bit more of than the next person. And so that gratitude should also remind us to be humble, because yes, we might have a little bit more here, but have a little bit less here, right? And then I got old. I'm broke. I'm talking to the computer apparently. And I don't know if I'm reading, but I don't think I'm reading. I don't know why I was getting self conscious about that. Like, it's not a chat that I just discovered, it's a chat that I refined, published it into a book, and now I'm reading my book, which is also free information or $50 for the book. But it's condensed ideas. You know, it's a refined topic, practiced ideas, rehearsed, refined, and then seeked input. Because if I were to try to publish books and try to seek input from other publishers and try to be like, give me a chance, could somebody please read my script and give me some feedback, 20 years later somebody would have been like, we've concluded, no thank you. This way, i had I had some ideas. I ran it by an intelligence type of thing. It was like, hey, you don't sound too stupid. Matter of fact, let me help you. Boom, we did that. And now I'm over here making videos. I used to make car videos. Did you know that? I started out doing like, let's see, what did I start out doing? Car detailing videos. 2017, I started like posting videos of it before I vacuumed the car, and then after. Obviously, I would shampoo it, put the little wiggly lines on it, and it looks kind of cool. So I was like, oh, a cool after. 90 views. But 2 years of that, right? And then for a while, I would have 2 3 customers a day sometimes, and definitely about like 5 to 10 a week, and that was some really good money at the time, I think. Um, but it goes in and out, because as soon as I master a skill, like instead of plateauing, like as soon as I figured out how to wash a car really good, instead of just being a really good car wash guy for the next 15 years, I went and learned how to fix cars. So I would be a really good car wash guy, be a really good be a really bad fat car fixer guy. And then with time, this goes up, this skill drops. Now I can be a pretty good car fixer guy and then a really bad writer, right? So with time, I'll be a really good writer, really bad businessman. And then with time, I'll be a really bad businessman or a really good businessman, really bad consultant. And then with time, right? So there's levels to this. So my hands are over here explaining all this stuff, and are you guys getting it? Be humble. I don't think I've given you a decent humble example. I don't think humble is lowly, right? I'm humble because, well, I try to be humble, but I'm also have a little bit of confidence because I'm fucking looking at my work. I have the experience. I had the skill. I made the money. I made the decisions. Like, I'm not just Dad Delulu, right? So, but I'm not advertising it, right? If I were to go to a social event, my first 10 sentences aren't, look at me, look what I accomplished, look at this motherfucking thing that I'm doing, look at my car that I'm driving. It's more of a, hi, how are you? And then, after a few questions, if I were to try to get any form of value from a person, I would first see how I can help them. And this attitude led me to become a writer, a marketing agency, a car builder, a car wash guy, um, this and that, and however else life unfolds, right? It's the experience, it's the journey, and then it's the necessity to also learn, the necessity to learn further skills. I didn't know that AI was going to be a prevalent thing 5 years ago when I was like, I'm going to be a car guy. And then, yeah, I could have a peace of mind and like, AI will never replace the car repair industry until it does. But then I had bigger dreams than just fixing cars because fixing cars was a newly acquired skill um, that my customers were asking for when I was washing their cars. So I just kind of learned a few unnecessary things, and some of it's a detour, but I feel like all of it, all of the skills, all of the life experiences kind of lead us to A, become who we are, but B, it adds to the richness of our perspective. So if we become better at communicating our perspective, right? And maybe that's why I'm doing these dumb videos, is at first it's practice, and then after a while it's just something I do, and then after a while it's something that's expected of me, right? And I think I'm at a point to where I feel like new videos are expected of me. Okay, I give you some. um do I have something to say every freaking day? Probably not. I don't really want to tell you what I'm doing every day because you would find out how fucking boring and mundane a lot of this stuff is. Today, I redid my homepage, put up a couple articles, spliced some videos into the website, cross-referenced this and that. Um, yeah, redid a couple things. It's just focusing on the SEO, doing some research, mapping out how I want my homepage to look and how my next page is to work and how it's all connected and what am I really trying to talk about. Reiterate, right? So that when the opportunity does present itself, hopefully I'll be ready. And I'm not ready, but hopefully I'll be ready.